Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Kevin Wilds, Eric Mangini. Big weekend for Coach Mangini. His son's graduating in a virtual graduation from the 8th grade. It's a big feat, Coach.
Oh.
You must be a proud dad.
Very proud.
Well, we can see the pride on his face. Booming. Oh, I love it. We got a fun Friday show to help him kick off his huge weekend, Coach. How Zion could affect the NBA's near future, why Jarrett Stidham might actually be the perfect fit in New England, and what would $40 million look like in your bank account? Well, you may soon be able to ask Patrick Mahomes. That's where we start on this Friday morning. The Chiefs have begun negotiating with their all-everything, do-everything quarterback on a contract unlike any other. Their words. Working in Mahomes' favor, a regular season MVP, a Super Bowl win, and a Super Bowl MVP. Oh, and they're the favorites to do it again this season. Mahomes will undoubtedly be rewarded with the highest contract in league history. But Nick, is Mahomes good enough to carry a Chiefs dynasty if he goes from his current $4 million to $40 million plus per year over the course of the next couple years?
Of course. Listen, the problem in sports is never paying the best like they're the best. The problem in sports is paying the average or above average like they're close to the best, and that is in the NFL, in the NBA, any sport with a salary cap. You do a cross-sport comparison. The Lakers are about to offer Anthony Davis close to $250 million. It will be money well spent. The bad contract for the Lakers was the $64 million they gave Mozgov or the $72 million they gave Deng years ago because you were paying as if you were getting greatness for mediocrity. In the NFL, we live in a world where Ryan Tannehill gets $30 million per season on a brand new deal that was just signed. So you can't look at any of these contracts like $40 million. You say, is Patrick Mahomes worth one Pro Bowl level player, because that's what you could get for $10 million, the spread, more than Ryan Tannehill? Is he worth one near Pro Bowl level player more than Kirk Cousins, who just signed a new deal for $33 million per year? And the answer to that is unequivocally, absolutely, obviously yes. And I'll add one other point, Wilds, because the Chiefs have an excellent GM in Brett Veach, and because they are not waiting on this, they have an excellent opportunity to be able to give him a contract that sounds unbelievable, but actually doesn't kill him. Say they gave him 5 years, $45 million per year. That'd be $225 million bucks. But he's already under contract for the next 2 years at $27 million total. So what that would end up being is 7 years, $252 million. That would be $36 million per year. That's a bargain. So you could sign him today to 5 years, $225 million, and it's a bargain because you already have the years going into the final 2 years of his deal, I should say. So no, there's no number where he's not going to be worth it, Wilds.
Yeah, I agree, Nick, but for that 5 years, $225, if I was Patrick Mahomes' team, I would turn it down. I think Florio made a great point in his article when he talks about a deal unlike any other, that Mahomes should actually get a percentage of the cap. That's the only deal I think he should sign. There's so much money coming down the pipe, 2022, when all these TV deals happen, he has to sign a percentage of the deal. Here's KD Drummond, who's been great on this stuff. He writes a lot about Dak for the Cowboys, but he's also great in the cap. The last TV deal signed in December 2011 for $27 billion was done less than 6 months after the current CBA. It was a 60% increase from the previous agreement. Similar growth, he goes on to say, would put the next deal at around $43.2 billion, and that's without the 16 regular season games, 17-game season, and 2 additional postseason contests at least. Add some international games that I think they're going to break out into a new package. More money's coming, more money, more money. And I know everyone's going to say, like, you got to do a rookie deal. You can't have the quarterback eat up the cap. Well, if it's just a percentage of the cap, it's locked in. You can build your team. Here are some guys that have been successful. It doesn't all need to be on rookie deals. Brady won, Favre won, Eli won, Peyton won, Steve Young won. I think Jerry Rice had a ton of money in that deal, too. So, Coach, if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm not signing any number. I'm just signing a percentage.
Well, just to respond to a couple things, the list that you showed, there's only one quarterback that's won multiple Super Bowls when you've been over that percentage, that 10% mark, and it's hard to do. And when you look at Kansas City's cap, they're near the bottom of the league in terms of salary cap expenditures right now. You've got other players that are coming up, like Travis Kelce is in the second last year of his deal. And this idea, Nick, that you're going to play out the final 2 years of the contract before his new money kicks in, that's not how it works. He's going to want his money now, and it's not going to – they look at New Year's new money, and those final 2 years of his deal aren't necessarily going to weigh into this deal. The new money is going to hit now as opposed to being pushed off. So you've got to do a great job after you invest this type of money into a player with the way that you draft and then managing the rest of the team. People don't want to take a discount, especially when the quarterback is getting paid that amount of money. But unfortunately, the salary cap is finite. You can't just spend uncontrollably, and people lose sight of that. And it's an equalizer, and how you manage it and how you manage a draft is going to determine the success, because he hasn't become a better player. He's just become a more expensive player.
Well, speaking of whether he'd become a better player, Nick, put what Mahomes has done maybe into a little bit of perspective. What would his second Super Bowl this year do to his legacy?
Oh, second Super Bowl. Well, Coach, this is a great one for you, because right now, Patrick Mahomes, having started 2 years in the NFL, here's what he's done. He's won a Super Bowl MVP. He's won a league MVP. He's had a top 5 all-time quarterback season. He's quarterbacked a top 3 all-time scoring offense. He has the highest winning percentage of any quarterback ever. Barely nipped your guy Tom Brady by just percentage points. He has the second most career playoff double-digit comebacks of any quarterback ever, only behind Tom Brady. He's got the highest passer rating ever and the second best touchdown interception ratio ever. So, if they were to win another Super Bowl in short order, like if they were to win it this year, as they're the Vegas favorites, I have this quarterback pyramid, if you will. This is post-merger, so we don't have to worry about Johnny Unitas and Otto Graham. That's not it, but we'll show it to you in a moment. The quarterback pyramid of the best, there we go. Those are the best 8 quarterbacks of the last 50 years. Coach, I know you said to me when he had played 5 games, I was ready to put him in the Hall of Fame, and I wasn't yet. But if they win the Super Bowl this year, and he's already done all those things, and he's a 2-time Super Bowl champion, I think that pyramid looks like this pyramid. I think he joins Rodgers, Brees, Favre, and Marino as one of the 10 best quarterbacks of the modern NFL era, and that's with respect to Kurt Warner, Steve Young, Roger Staubach, guys who didn't make the pyramid. I know that you're not giving the Chiefs next year's Super Bowl, and you shouldn't. If they win it, would you even be okay with a pyramid like that?
It would be hard to argue how good he is if he has the same type of impact this coming year as he's had in the past. And the things that he's done has been incredibly impressive. The way that he's been able to rally the team has been impressive. So I'm taking none of that away from him. And I know we're doing a lot of ifs. It is going to be really interesting to see how he deals with success and how this team in general deals with success. And you give me a hard time about saying wait and see, but I do think these are all tests of greatness. And dealing with adversity is one level of greatness, and then dealing with success is another level of greatness. So if he's able to perform the way that he has and lead the team the way that he has, I would be comfortable talking about him in that layer.
Wow. Yes! It took 2 years.
It's a
Friday,
win,
America.
Coach. You got to win.
I'm so happy right now, Wilds. Jenna, Wilds, I'm so happy at what just happened here. Go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry, but I'm
can't believe it.
I'm over the moon.
No, I mean, we're if they win again. I mean, teams really haven't been in the pattern of repeating. But if like you love to do, then maybe I'll be comfortable talking about that. 10,000.
Wilds, can you believe it?
It's a Friday. You know, it's Friday. I think if we did this on Monday, Coach would feel totally different.
It's my son's graduation. I'm feeling a little nicer.
That's right. It's the graduation.
Wilds, we've had Coach on the show for For 3 years, it has been prove it to me first, prove it to me first, prove it to me first. We're at a place where he may actually be joining Nick's side a little bit. This is a win for Nick. Let's just leave it there and give it that. Back here, first things first, with Coach Mangini, we're drawing a blank. New Cardinals wideout DeAndre Hopkins wants everyone to know that he's the best receiver in the NFL. So he told everyone he knows that he's the best receiver in the NFL. Said if he had quarterback Drew Brees like Michael Thomas does, or if he had quarterback Matt Ryan like Julio Jones does, his numbers would be even more off the charts. So Nuke's comments are blank.
A testament to his greatness. And as a wise man once said, show me the lie. This is a guy who's a multiple-time All-Pro. Despite before Deshaun Watson came into his life 2.5 years ago, his quarterbacks were Matt Schaub, Case Keenum, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ryan Mallett, Tom Savage, Brian Hoyer, TJ Yates, Brandon Whedon, and Brock Osweiler. And he still just produced. Guy like Nuke, Larry Fitzgerald, who's done it over almost 20 years with only a few years of solid quarterback play. It is in a dependent position like wide receiver. The guys who have been able to do it with a who's nobody of quarterbacks are the most impressive. It's not to say Michael Thomas wouldn't have been able to do it, but we don't know that he could have. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that DeAndre would have been even better if the first 5.5 years of his career he wasn't dealing with a bunch of backup quarterbacks, Coach.
Yeah, what I said was this was 18% incorrect. And what I looked at him and Michael Thomas and Julio Jones was catch percentage. And his catch percentage is at 60%, and Michael Thomas is at 78%. So that regardless of who's throwing the ball, the balls that are catchable, how many do you convert? And he's converted at a lower rate than both those guys. Do I think he's great? I think he's outstanding. Do I think he could have been better with a better quarterback? Yeah. But the numbers are the numbers, and I know, Nick, you live by those.
There's nuance to them, sure.
Well, Nick, I wrote Trumpets Blair, and you know I've been lost for a while after this Tom Brady fiasco. Thank you, Justin. And Gronk's back in Tampa Bay, and you know I've tried to get behind Jarrett the Javelin, and I'm supporting you, Jarrett the Javelin, 100%. But my announcement is this. DeAndre Hopkins is my new favorite player in the NFL. New favorite player.
Oh!
So for 15 weeks, they play the Patriots one, but for the rest of the time, DeAndre Hopkins, you can show up every Monday, or if you play Thursday night game, show up every Friday, and I will be unequivocally on your side, trumpets blaring, screaming your praises. You're my new favorite player. Congratulations, DeAndre Hopkins.
I like that. Big announcement.
All right. On to the Packers now. Apparently, their goal these days is to continually find ways to annoy Aaron Rodgers. Case in point, drafting Jordan Love. Second case in point, Matt LaFleur saying, quote, one area we really need to improve on is creating more explosive plays. Whew. Nick, LaFleur's comments on the Packers offense are blank.
Ironic, because you know who Matt LaFleur should have said that to instead of to America? To Brian Gutekunst the day before the draft. You know a good way not to create explosive plays? When your first 3 picks of the draft are a backup quarterback, a power back who is projected to go in the 4th or 5th round, and then an H-back. What year do the Packers, if you want explosive plays, the way to do it isn't to essentially draft a couple fullbacks and a backup quarterback. That ain't getting the job done. Well, at least in free agency, their big skill position acquisition was Devin Funchess. So yeah, more explosive plays. In other words, Aaron, if you could please do a little more of what you've been doing the last decade, which is create explosive plays despite us not giving you the requisite weapons to expect those explosive plays. I just wish LaFleur had said this to someone that could actually help Aaron Rodgers in this situation, Coach.
Yeah, I said this was lovely because it's going to frustrate Aaron Rodgers. So when you take a quarterback in the first round, then talk about explosive plays. But it's not just that; it's that they were 10th in explosive plays the year before LaFleur got there and dropped to 19th. So it's not that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the capacity to do it. Now, in fairness to LaFleur, this is an offense that's built off of hard sell play action and throws down the field. So the better the running game is, the more effective the running game is, the better the opportunities for those big plays down the field.
Jen, I had confusing because I talked to Dusty about this, and he gave me a graphic that changed the way I looked at football, if we could put it up. I don't think you need big plays. According to this graphic, yeah, Packers were 19th. They did great. Chargers, fine. Raiders, not great. Chiefs, 22nd in big plays. Oh, Packers went 13-3, and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. They're not having huge plays. So I don't know if you actually necessarily need big plays. There you go, confusing stat of the day.
Basically, Aaron Rodgers should have said, thanks for the compliment. On to Patrick Mahomes now. What do you do when Phil Mickelson invites you to participate in the next wildly popular can't-miss celebrity golf match? You tweet this, I'm ready whenever. Nick, he might be busy in early February, but other than that, Mahomes' participation in the next match celebrity golfing event would be blank.
Jenna, first of all, great job by you not saying he might be busy in September, October, November, December, or even January. I love that you said early February when the Super Bowl is held. That is spectacular, nuanced work by you. Now, the answer to your question, though, Patrick Mahomes participating in the next match charity golf event would be a turning point. And by that, I mean a turning point in the negative direction. That would, Patrick, don't do this. This would be when America turns against you, because we've seen him at, what, a Top Golf is what that thing's called, bombing at 450 yards. If the best quarterback in the league, the most talented quarterback ever, shows up on TV golfing, and he's also a great golfer, people won't like him. Brady being awful made Brady more humanized, more likable. This would go the other way for Patrick, so stay out of it, Patrick. You don't need people to be like, you know what? I'm sick of this guy, so just focus on the football, maybe a little hoops if you want in the offseason. So don't let Coach see you play. He'll get all upset at you. But no, don't do it, Patrick.
Yeah, to me, this is a little bit premature and shocking. It's premature or not premature for Nick. I mean, you could put Eli on with his 2 Super Bowls, or Ben Roethlisberger with his 2 Super Bowls, or you could put Tom on, which he's got another 5 Super Bowl lead on Mahomes, and let him play, 5 other guys. Maybe it's Brady and anybody before we put Mahomes back on there.
Anybody. I loved it.
All right, here we go.
That was a great moment. Coach, anybody. I loved it. That was perfect.
He's turning on you. Look, Phil's got a three-match deal with Turner, Bleacher. They did the first one, pay-per-view on BR Live. This one was on cable. So this next one's going to happen. I think this will be productive for Mahomes. And I'll take a little page out of Cam Newton's book, The Iron Sharpens Iron. Nick, I actually think he could learn some things from, and I'm not trying to, be fresh. I learned something. I actually think he could learn a lot from Phil Mickelson and hanging out with Tiger Woods on championship mentality and mental strength. I think it would actually be really productive for him.
All right, let's end with some Saquon Barkley, whose quads have the circumference of a Montezuma cypress. It's a big tree. Look it up on the Google. Check out the Giants Pro Bowl running back casually squatting 585. They're seated squats, but whatever, it's still pretty okay. Coach, Saquon squatting 585 is blank.
Yeah, to me, this is aspirational. When I work with this type of weight, I don't nearly get that many reps. And my form is a little bit off compared to Saquon's. We have very similar thighs, so that's good. But I would like to be able to throw this up like he does.
That's true. Coach, you got to wear the hat. That's why. A lot of times you're just wearing a backwards baseball cap. You got to wear a full knit hat, keep your body temperature up. I went with productive here, Nick. When you look at, a lot of these workout videos and people are, lifting boulders and things like that. I'm like, why are you doing it? I want to see actual stuff that makes a difference on the field. And Saquon's done so well breaking tackles this year. He's 3rd in the league in the last 2 years breaking tackles. So I actually think this is a productive exercise for him.
I'm of a similar mind, Wilds. I said useful because unlike James Conner's V-cut or whatever the hell we saw yesterday, this should actually help a running back. But that's not the most important part of it.
Nick.
Sometimes the world, Jenna, works out just perfectly. Even in the hellacious year that is 2020. You said in your tease, and I didn't know you were going to, you said even though they're seated squats. The reason I wanted this in the show is when I saw this on Instagram, I saw that comment on the right. And can we zoom in on that comment on the right? Because America, I have found Jenna Wolfe's burner account. That comment on the right reads, okay, like it's impressive, it really is, but
No,
anyone who's ever taken weightlifting serious knows that when you do that kind of squat with the bench, it's a lot easier than going parallel. Now I redacted it, Jenna,
obvious.
so you can continue to troll pro athletes with your workout tips. Your burner account's identity is safe for now, but I have discovered
I don't even know how to do
Jenna
that.
Wolfe's burner account. Oh, say it again?
You know, I don't even know how to do that. I can't set my kids up with a Twitter account. I'm going to have a burner account. I can't even log
America,
on properly.
Hold on. No, I have to respond. I have to respond. No, I must respond. America, do not take this playing dumb act seriously. Now, at times you might say, is Jenna Wolfe serious? And you can't really tell. When it comes to Instagram, she's an expert. She's one of the, I feel like she was an angel investor. Right. She's been on the platform forever. If she knows anything, it's about commenting on workout posts on Instagram. And I found her burner account trolling Saquon Barkley. That's a fact, America.
Oh, Nick. Oh, I can't wait till I get to troll you next segment. Back here, first things first, with Chris Broussard running a little fast break to get to all the big NBA topics of the day. First up, the NBA return. General managers were recently surveyed about a playoff plus format. So 75% were in favor of a play-in tournament style, with the other 25% siding with a World Cup group stage format. Nick, start with you. What do you make of this?
Well, I think a lot of people look at it and say, oh, wow, the play-in idea is very popular. I don't know if that's as much the case as that group stage nonsense could only get 7 GMs to support it. I adore Kevin O'Connor. He's a big proponent of this. I talked to him the other night about it and argued with him privately. I'll say it now publicly. It is a terrible idea. It's just awful. And I'm glad the GMs agree with me. This idea that you need to do to the NBA what you have to do in the World Cup. Again, the World Cup is a group stage because you are drawing soccer clubs from the entire globe. They are not competing against each other throughout the qualifiers, and there's no fair or adequate way to rank them. That is not the case in the NBA. If in the playoffs this year we were going to involve the UEFA teams, if you were going to involve the league that Luka used to play in Spain, then maybe a group stage would be necessary. But assuming we're keeping it to the, America and the Toronto Raptors, I think just the regular playoffs, maybe a play-in is fine, but the group stage should never get off the ground, Wilds.
Yeah, I feel like the group stage is officially dead. Broussard, I think this is sort of a hallmark of Silver's tenure as commissioner. He's a lawyer by trade, and he's doing his due diligence to look at all the options. So group stage is probably dead. The play-in has a little bit of momentum, but more than anything, I think reseeding is going to happen. They've talked about all 3 of those options, but I still think reseeding is the one most likely to get through.
Yeah, I'm just so glad that they've nixed this group stage, or at least it appears that way, because I don't understand it. I'm always confused, whether it's the World Cup, the Olympics. I have no idea what's going on with group stage stuff. I'm an American. I don't think like a European. I have no idea what's going on whenever they have group stage. So I love the play-in. It rewards the teams that are on the bubble and still have a legitimate chance to get into the playoffs, and it doesn't punish the teams that already had top seed. So I think this one, the GM got right.
Broussard, I'm with you. I asked Nick to explain group stage to me this morning. He did. I still didn't understand it. I was too embarrassed to ask him to explain it again. Sticking with the playoffs, Brian Windhorst recently said that some around the league believe the NBA's proposed plan for an expanded postseason is all an elaborate plan to get rookie Zion Williamson and his Pelicans into the postseason. Nick, is it actually possible that Zion could affect the NBA playoff format?
Oh, it's possible, but it would be outrageous. Nobody's a bigger fan of Zion than me. But this is a zero-sum game, folks. If you try to tweak the situation to allow the Pelicans to maybe get in, you know who gets left out? Ja Morant. And I would argue, on a long time horizon, it is better for the NBA for Ja Morant to get some publicity this year than Zion. Zion's going to be a star and a media sensation no matter what. A lot of America has never watched Ja Morant play, and seeing him in the first round against the Lakers might raise his star quality enough to where the NBA has another young marketable superstar. And there's one other point about this that to me is very important. We already know the two teams with the best record in basketball, the two teams that earned the 1 seed, Milwaukee and the Lakers, are going to be at not at a disadvantage, but not going to get their full reward as far as no home games. No one can do anything about that. That happens. But if you then make it so the two teams with the best record in basketball have to, in the first round, play the only hot teams that exist in an era of pandemic, that you have to play a team that just won a tournament to get into the playoffs, you are actually penalizing them for being the 1 seed. You'd have been better off if you're Milwaukee to beat Toronto and be the 2 seed. If you're the Lakers, you've been better off being the Clippers, not caring about the regular season and be the 2 seed. So for that reason, I think it would be added unfairness to the two teams that have done the most this year, Wild.
I like your take on Ja Morant. I haven't thought of that. But just to dig in on Zion, everyone gives credit to the NBA for being a star-driven league. Well, this is how it works. The NBA doesn't control commercials. They don't control how well the stars play. The only thing they can really control is exposure. The Pelicans had a franchise record 30 national games this year. They played opening night. They played Christmas. They played on ABC, a broadcast network, games for the first time since 2009. So look, I know everyone's saying, like, you can't change the format for one guy, but Broussard, this is how it works. This is how NBA makes stars.
Nick, stop it with the, oh, this would punish the top seeds. If they can't beat the New Orleans Pelicans, as young as they are, they don't deserve to win the championship. I'm sorry. If it somehow happened that the Lakers or the Bucks met the Pelicans in the playoffs and lost, so be it. You're not deserving of winning the championship, so it is what it is. I think overall, this Zion comment that Brian Windhorst made, I think it's made more, or among executives, I think it's made a little bit more in jest than actually really believing it. Because look, you mentioned Nick, could be left out. What you forgot others. Luka could be left out. I mean, if they play a play-in tournament for the 7th and 8th seed, you could not only lose Ja Morant, you could lose Luka Doncic, who is obviously a budding superstar in the league. So I don't think it's a plan to get Zion in. I do think it's wise, though, to give these teams on the bubble and teams that have superstars with Zion, Damian Lillard. In the East, you got Bradley Beal. To give them a shot to get into the playoffs, I think it's fine. And if Zion happens to make it, even if it's at the expense of Luka or Ja Morant, all the buzz that he would bring would be good for the league because, again, remember, they'd be competing with the NFL.
We're now changing things up so Bradley Beal's 24 and 40 Washington Wizards have a chance. That's the bubble?
He's a 30-point
What bubble
scorer.
are we talking about? Okay, great. He's an awesome player. I love Bradley Beal. But the idea that, well, it would be unfair to Washington, who is 16 games under 500. Oh, the poor Blazers. The poor Blazers, who are 8 games under 500. This is the softest bubble in NBA history. We have 17 teams in this league under 500. I am not worried about making things as fair as possible for them. It's just, and if somehow this resulted in a team like Washington making the playoffs and Dallas that has, how many wins does Dallas have? 40 wins. They got 40 wins. There's only been 67 games played. And they're out. You know what, Broussard? I will blame you personally. It will be your fault. You have too big of a voice. You're promoting this. You're very influential in the industry. I hold you accountable.
For it. Let's move on to Kevin Durant. His Brooklyn Nets teammate Spencer Dinwiddie did some pot stirring yesterday, saying, quote, at 80%, Durant is Dirk Nowitzki. At 100%, he's the best scorer of all time. Nick, how dangerous are the Nets if Durant does indeed return for the playoffs?
Well, a couple things. Wildly dangerous, especially if he gets back to 100%, because according to, if Dinwiddie's correct, Durant's been playing at 90% his whole career. Because if at 100% he's the best scorer of all time, thus far up through his career, he hasn't even been the best scorer of his generation. LeBron averages more points per game, so look out if we ever see 100% Kevin Durant. I guess we've just never seen it yet. But to this point, I feel terribly for KD in this spot. It's already starting wild, and this is something I hold you personally accountable for. You keep saying every day on this show, oh, it's been 400, it's going to be 400 days. Kobe came back at this date. Chauncey came back at this date. We know Kevin Durant's got as big a rabbit ears as anyone in sports. You know he hears this. This is unfair pressure on him. Those guys didn't come back in the cauldron of the playoffs, and those guys didn't pop their Achilles coming back from an injury too early the way he did. To answer Jenna's question, if he comes back, of course, they're incredibly dangerous. I just think it's unfair to even subtly imply to KD he should be thinking about this.
I'm not subtly implying it, and I love when you say cauldron of the playoffs. It's my favorite. Besides take integrity is number one, cauldron of the playoffs is number two. Look, we know that KD, this is why I'm just not putting it at 0%. I know that KD loves basketball, and I know that KD loves telling reporters to shove it. And we've yet to hear KD go on Twitter. Does he have Twitter, Broussard? I've yet to see him go on Twitter and say, everyone, stop, keep my name out of your mouth. I'm not coming back. Don't talk about it. And Nick, just for reference, it's going to be around 400 days. Rudy Gay came back with 273 days after 273 days after a torn Achilles. Just throwing it out there, it'll be 400 days. It's a long timetable. It's just, it wouldn't be absurd if he came back. If he wants to tell me shove it, fine, I'll be quiet. I'll never talk about it again.
Look, if I'm Kevin Durant and I'm fully healthy, again, if he's 99%, don't come back. But if he's fully healthy, 99. If he feels back to normal, if the doctors are saying he's okay, this is great for him because it's a strange situation, Nick, as you mentioned. There's play-ins, there's strange seeding, reseeding, all of that. Anything could happen in this newfangled playoff system we might have. The Nets might be able to pull off an upset, and no one would expect anything of them. No one would expect anything. If they go out and lose in the first round, nobody's going to say, oh, Kevin Durant doesn't have it anymore, anything like that. People would just brush it off. But if they somehow pull off an upset and get it going, this could be a chance for them to, who knows, win a championship. And look, I'll tell you this, they will be so dangerous if they have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving that I wouldn't be surprised if this whole reseeding thing got scrapped. And Adam Silver said, you know what? Since they would have Durant, Kyrie, and meet the Lakers in the first round, let's just go back to East-West so we don't have to put the Lakers in jeopardy. I think the Lakers will win, don't get me wrong. But, man, the Nets would be dangerous, and I'd give them a legitimate shot at beating anyone outside of the LA teams, the Lakers and the Clippers. That includes the Bucks, because the Bucks are young and still haven't really proven it in the postseason. Brooklyn would be majorly dangerous.
All right, on to Carmelo Anthony now, who recently said, quote, you know, MJ is the GOAT. He's the greatest ever. We all know that. We all agree to that. Why can't we say that, but also give LeBron his flowers while he's here, too? Why can't we say MJ was very great, LeBron is very great, Kobe is very great? We're not allowed to say those things today because it's always this or that, and that's just our society. You have to choose one. Nick, what'd you make of what Melo had to say?
All right, so a few things here. All right, first of all, Melo, and by the way, happy birthday, Carmelo Anthony. And I don't want to say anything bad about the man who delivered my university our only national championship on his birthday. But Melo's a little wrong in a couple regards. One is, LeBron folks have no problem saying Michael Jordan is great. It's the other way around, the insecure Michael Jordan clan, that some of which is like, is LeBron really top 10? That's first of all. Second of all, I'm a little surprised by Melo's lack of loyalty here. Even if this is what you believe, Melo, you're part of the banana boat crew. You're not supposed to say that. Plead the fifth, do something. Melo can't be on the record saying we all know LeBron or Michael's the greatest. What are you doing, Melo? I expected more loyalty from you, my man.
No, he was. The earlier part of this quote, he's basically saying comparison is the thief of joy. It's a very nuanced, stay mellow answer from Mello. Doesn't make for a great TV debate segment, so I don't think we can invite Mello on, but it's a solid answer, Broussard.
No, I agree fully. And look, kudos to Mello for staying true. Nick, you're always about pick integrity, take integrity. Yeah. I give props to Mello for making his choice. Kendrick Perkins, Channing Frye, all these other guys that are LeBron's buddies, they're not objective. They just want to give it to LeBron. Mello is saying, I love LeBron, but the man is MJ. And I got to stand up for MJ GOAT fans, because I obviously say he's the GOAT. But I love LeBron. He's the man. I say he's the second best. So it's not about loving MJ. You got to diss LeBron. I love LeBron. While he's very great and Kobe's very great, MJ is very, very great.
You know who's very, 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 very great? Mike Tyson, who may have finally found his comeback opponent. Next on First Things First.
Well, Broussard, see if you can share that on your guys' MJ Propaganda Weekly.
Sunday on FS1, NASCAR Cup Series racing is live from the legendary Bristol Motor Speedway. Catch all the action from the biggest stars in racing beginning at 3:30 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. And we're back here on First Things First with Coach Mangini. Time for stories to start your morning. The NFL has decided to table the 4th and 15 onside kick alternative, which means all the plays that Nick drew up for Mahomes and Reed were a waste of time. Sorry, buddy. Nick, you disappointed by this?
Yeah, I am a little disappointed. I understand there were some potential loopholes they needed to address. I thought we addressed them on the show yesterday quite easily. If the team that's leading goes for it, it's an untimed down. If the team that's trailing goes for it, the clock runs. At the very least, what they could have done is said, hey, here's how it's going to work. You can only do this once per game. You can only do it if you're trailing, and the clock runs. That would make it very black and white to at least try it out. It's not like the onside kick situation previously was perfect or they had to and they didn't have to make a change. But I would have really liked to see them try this out. So Wilds, I'm a little disappointed we're not going to get to see it.
I am too. I think this was the process, though, Nick. Remember, I think the 49ers introduced it last year. This time the Eagles introduced it. And I think it was dead on arrival when you said, yeah, there was a few loopholes. We addressed them on the show. On Monday, we had one loophole. Then we found another loophole on Wednesday. And then they had to vote on it on Thursday. So I was like, geez, I don't know if they're in the owners' meeting being like, I don't know if you saw these segments from First Things First, guys, but there's a few loopholes. So if we can cue the tape up to Nick Wright before we vote on this thing. So I thought it was not necessarily bulletproof yet, Coach.
Yeah, Kevin, I thought you'd be disappointed because New England's probably going to need this rule change this year. I would have liked to have seen it at least be done in the preseason, experiment with it a little bit, see what it's like in practice in the NFL, and then be able to either ratify it or at least have more information next year when they discuss it.
All right, let's move on to a rule that they did pass, prohibiting clock manipulation through dead ball penalties, a.k.a. the Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick rule. Coach, you okay with this?
Yeah, I'm okay with this. Bill's like that accountant that always finds the loophole when he's doing your taxes, and then the IRS closes the loophole. It happened with the double timeout situation. It's happened year in and year out. He finds some area that has a potential to exploit, and he does it until the window's closed.
Yeah, I think this is like, I think it's like Best Buy. If you find something that goes on sale, you can bring back and you've already bought it, you can bring it back and get that price. So that's what I think the Patriots should do. Now that this rule is not allowed, we can go back and either replay maybe the last few minutes of the Titans game or file a formal protest to have that struck from the record. I think Belichick's still looking at it, but that game does not count. The NFL just announced it.
All right. Well done, Wilds. Listen, shout out to the NFL. Great job by the NFL for closing this loophole. Now, it is a little frustrating that this loophole was wide open and never closed when only the Patriots exploited it. But the moment it's used against them, they're like, nope, got to change, out of here forever. I mean, Coach, you talk about the IRS. It's like your neighbor has found a way not to pay his property taxes for a decade, and then you're like, oh, let me get in on that. And immediately the next year, they're like, nope, now everyone's got to pay them. So evidently, if we wanted this loophole closed, all we needed was for someone to pull a Vrabel 7 years ago, and it would have been closed. But now that it's been used against New England, obviously, we can't allow that to happen anymore. So the rule has now been changed. Good job, NFL.
Great perspective, Nick. All right, on to Jarrett Stidham. His former Auburn coach, Gus Malzahn, gave some insight into the Patriots' second-year quarterback, saying Stidham's, quote, like a coach in his approach. He's in the film room. He's asking questions. He's breaking down plays. Coach, how valuable is this quality having your quarterback?
Well, what they really need to hope is that he's not like a coach on the field and plays like a coach, that he can actually play at a high level. And they lost the ultimate coach on the field with Tom Brady, so anybody who comes in is going to be, pale by comparison. Most quarterbacks you find are guys that are in the film room and doing those things. So let's see how different he is than your average quarterback in that area.
Yeah, it didn't seem like much of a compliment. I always support Jarrett the Gem. Like, he's in the film room. Like, yeah, I hope. I mean, the other news in this article is that the Patriots signed one of his former teammates, Will Hastings, Nick. 5'10", 174. They caught 26 passes. So DeAndre Hopkins, my first favorite player, and Will Hastings, your number 2. Don't know who you are yet, but looking forward to meeting you.
Will Hastings. You said 5'10", 174. Sounds perfect.
5'10", 174.
All right, listen. I agree with you entirely, Wilds, that Gus Malzahn, it's almost like an insult by omission. It's like, hey, listen, I can't tell you he's got the greatest arm in the world, a crazy athlete, but he tries, studies, he doesn't forget what playbook we're running. And Coach, you stole my line. I'm kind of flailing here a bit because my line was going to be, you just got to hope he doesn't play like a coach. Coach, of course, the wittier one of the two of us, got it out there first. So, yeah, I mean, this is what you would expect from his college coach to say, I suppose, Jenna.
Wittier and prettier. On to some boxing now. Sorry, buddy. Where Mike Tyson was offered $1 million by Classic Entertainment and Sports Boxing to fight journeyman heavyweight Giuseppe Cusimano. Nick, is this more in Tyson's wheelhouse for a comeback compared to some of the other offers, the $20 million for the bare knuckle, all those different fighting options?
All right, so a few things here because I'm very personally conflicted. Because while I try to always be non-biased in everything, I must admit to America, I do have a soft spot in my heart for Italian-American athletes, and I always try to root for Italian-American athletes. So when I saw Giuseppe Angelo Cusimano was going to be in a fight, I'm like, oh, I want to bet on him. I want to go with him. Then I saw he was going to be a fight against this monster who I really want to see, and I'm like, I don't know what to do in this situation. But I think, Kevin Wildes, this is the first step to getting the fight we really want to see. None of this headgear, 3 rounds for charity. No. Get Tyson in a ring with a real boxer, even if he's a journeyman, and with real rules, regulation rules. And if he can do that, if his stamina, if it doesn't look ridiculous, then I think there will be a real thirst for one of the fights we actually want to see from the 53-year-old Iron Mike, following, of course, in the great footsteps of older boxers coming out of retirement, George Foreman and Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, I think this is part of the process. Now we're talking about a real fight. The $1 million purse, though, that's like a YouTube ad where just skip ad. You don't look 5 seconds, skip ad. It's not $1 million. Conor McGregor got $100 million. Floyd got $275, and I know you're saying, like, well, Mike Tyson at 53 is not Floyd in his later years. Like, fine. Let's say there's a tenth of the interest. That's still $27.5 million. It's not $1 million, but we're on the right track that this is going to be a real fight if it happens, Coach.
Yeah, I steal Nick's thunder and they have me go third. I think this has got to be a lot more than $1 million. Mike Tyson wasn't fighting very productively late in his career, and to come back at 53 years old, that's an awful lot to ask. And the person's going to be punching back. He's not just going to be punching a bag. If he does well, this may reshape Tom Brady's approach, and he may decide to play till he's 50, 55, 60.
Oh, okay.
60.
All right, Tom Brady found a way to squeeze Tom Brady in there. Coach, I have a question for you, because you're the only you're the only one on the set. Let me be fair. You and Jenna are the only athletes on the set. You're the only one who actually did some contact, violent sports, though. You were a great wrestler. You still work out every day. What's the dollar amount for the name Giuseppe Angelo Cusimano to be replaced by another great Italian-American, Eric Mangini? For me, there's no amount of money because I would die. You could make it out of the ring. What's the dollar amount?
Now, how long do I have to last?
You just got to fight. If you get knocked out, no, you just got to do it. But if you get knocked out, that's fine. Yeah.
I don't know. Look, Mike Tyson, even at 53, looks like he could do some serious long-term damage. I don't know if there's a dollar amount that would put me in that ring. That would, I think I'd have to pass.
I thought Coach was going to be like, I do it for free. Eat it, Iron Mike. I was really hoping that was going to be the answer.
Have you met Coach? Ending with some Chiefs now. Wide receiver Tyreek Hill had the hot take of the day, tweeting, he's convinced every Chiefs fan has a dog named Chief. Well, we happen to have a Chiefs fan on staff who happens to have a dog. Nicholas, is there any truth to this?
Listen, I'd love to, Mo, you're on camera. You just heard that his name's Mo. Listen, this ugly, old miniature schnauzer is my dog. I'm obviously a Chiefs fan, and while I'd love to support Tyreek Hill, he's wrong. I have one dog. It's the only dog I've ever had. His name's Mo. I'd put him more on camera, but he's very scared right now. He's also deaf and blind, so he doesn't really know what's going on. But Mo's name is not Chief. We could have renamed him Chief. I thought about naming my daughter, who's right here as well. I thought about naming her Chief, but my wife wouldn't let me. You're not actually on camera. There you are, baby. But so no, it's Mo and Deanna instead of Chief and Chief. You should go off camera now because Mommy's going to be
He's definitely not going to be named Repeat.
Repeat. Coach, roasting me again.
Close it out, Coach.
Coach is roasting me again.
We got to go. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you Monday.